All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Any other proposed amendments to the agenda?
I had one.
Yes?
I would ask that we move item D, Treasurer's Report, May Financial Report, from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just the same. I continue to ask for that. Since we're funded by tax dollars, I just believe it's our duty to have that on the regular agenda so that there can be discussion and so that we can have a presentation of that information for the taxpayers.
Okay. All information is available to the public. It's uploaded timely, and Mr. Smith is always available for questions. Any other discussion on this?
I would just say that I agree with Mrs. Springate. I think that, we, at our last board meeting, we talked about our expenses and our revenue, and our expenses are a lot higher than we anticipated they would be. They're more than our revenue, and I feel like it's important to discuss that as a board and come up with solutions together. So,
Any other discussion?
I think it would help us to probably do a work session to do this and have Mr. Shane, instead of having it on the regular agenda for meetings like this. I think it just kind of like what happened. I mean, we had the budget on the agenda last week, which is why we were talking about it, but it did kind of devolve a little bit as it did in the past, which is why we stopped putting it on the regular agenda going forward. I still think we need to establish a relationship of talking with them outside of the meetings with either questions, emails, in-person phone calls with Mr. Smith to get questions answered for the public when they come about. I think if we only wait to talk about it here, then people are waiting a month every time. And so I think we have an opportunity to reach out to get those questions answered through the month and get back to people that ask. I mean, I know I do that all the time. And so I really think what we've established of having it in the consent agenda, but having the opportunity to reach out to Mr. Smith anytime to get that information should be the way we go. But I do think that we probably should have a designated working meeting where we have a lot of questions, bring that forward, dig into some stuff that we don't understand or don't know about, so that we can have that face-to-face as a board with Mr. Smith.
I would support that.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I think it's important to have those discussions. And I also think it's important, just to be clear, we've not had the treasurer's report or the financial reports. We've not been able to discuss those for close to a year now at the regular meetings. And part of the reason I think that we have regular open meetings and requirements by law and statute of what needs to be on those agendas is so that that can be done in an open, public forum. It provides transparency. It provides the audience the ability to hear the summaries, to come to us with any questions. And it also provides us the opportunity to hear each other's discussion and have those meaningful conversations so that we can provide the oversight and the direction for the finances of the district.
Yep. And again, all the information is available. All the information is available to the public the same time it's available to us. I know of just a couple of board members that have taken advantage of Mr. Smith to ask questions. And I would say until we establish that relationship where we can have normal professional conversations, I won't vote to move that to the regular agenda because we are not acting as a professional body in that case. So once I can see where that has changed, I would be willing to revisit that. Mr. Brickler, maybe you and I can talk about what you're thinking in terms of a work session. I'm not quite sure. Mm-hmm. I understand fully what you're asking
Sure.
for, but that would be a separate discussion
Sure.
from this
Mm-hmm.
discussion.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. The motion passed, so you voted,
I'm sorry. Nay.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so the motion fails 3-2. And that was Mr. Brickler, myself, Ms. Glass voted no, Ms. Springate, Ms. McCowan voted yes. Okay, we will move on to any other proposed amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to ask if we could move option 8K, the options for access between Legends and Southside Elementary, up so that maybe after item 8C, after we review and approve the minutes. Because we've got some people here from the Legends, and I know the last time they were here and we had this on the agenda, it was a long time to get to the very end.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we want to have it after public comment? Because I'm guessing
We can.
some of the people here might,
Yeah.
it might make sense to
That's
have it
what
after.
I was thinking.
Well, you have to have,
I wanted to put it on the regular agenda. It needs to go on the regular agenda, right?
Right.
So I was just thinking maybe make it C after the note, or
That's
make it D. Yeah.
Okay.
It might help a little bit anyway.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, so the motion was to move item 8K to 8D, which would then move everything else down one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Any other proposed amendments to
I
the
just
agenda?
have one more, and I'm sorry. I know we talked about this with the contracts that are on the consent agenda. I wonder if we can pull the UK one out, because I do work for UK, and Miss McHale messaged me the other day and just said, "Hey, do you want me to go ahead and pull it out?" And I couldn't remember exactly which one it was, but I think after giving it some thought, it would be best for me to be able to recuse myself from that. So if we could pull that out and vote on it separately.
Okay, so that's moving item 7G, the UK contract only, and that's just for student teachers.
Yes,
mean,
I know. I know it's not
There's
healthcare.
no, I don't think there's any monetary value to that, if that makes a difference to you. We're not paying them. But you want to move that from 7G
Yes.
to 8, where are we, M, I guess?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those, I'm sorry, I'm just writing. All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Okay, any other proposed amendments to the agenda? Okay, moving on to the superintendent's remarks.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this month's regular call meeting of the Woodford County Board of Education. First off, I'd like to talk about our BAR program that we've had in place now for nearly 2 years at Woodford County High School, and basically it deals with our freshmen classes, and what we have seen is a significant decrease in failures from its inception. We have probably cut it in half, if not less than that, throughout the program. So it's been a huge shot in the arm for our freshmen here at Woodford County High School. We had a beautiful graduation ceremony over Community Stadium. The weather held off. Everything was perfect. We graduated nearly 200, or probably approximately 270 graduates. No one's ever given me an actual number on that, but it's right in that ballpark, and it was beautiful. We had just a little delay, but that was good. That was good. It gave us a chance to get everybody oriented as to where we should be. But it was a great ceremony. It was great getting to see Mr. Brumley and all of his classmates walk across that stage. So very exciting. Yesterday, our governor's scholars reported to their institutions where they'll be going, I guess, the next 5 weeks. Am I correct, Connor? The next 5 weeks, they'll be experiencing some college life. So we're very excited for those folks to get to see that and experience that. And we got some news this morning, and you've got to, when you realize how much work Mr. Paul Patterson has done for us here in Woodford County and how successful he has been, when he talks about having to spend more time with his kids, you have to honor that. But I just wanted to take a minute tonight and thank Mr. Patterson, Coach Patterson, for what he's done. He's not only been very successful. I know I've been here 3 years, and we've been in a regional championship all 3 years and made a Final Four in the state tournament appearance. So he has been very successful. And not only that, but he's great for kids. So hats off to Mr. Paul Patterson, and we'll certainly miss him in that role. But with that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Moving on to our high school project update, Mr. Ratliff. We combined.
All right, good evening. We went from every day of rain to scorching hot real quick, but I'll take the heat over the rain. So we've had another good month. Even with all the rain last month, the site has made a lot of progress. I'm sure you all have seen the changes there, the concrete curb and the parking lots being established. Allen Company was scheduled to start putting down pavement tomorrow, but they've had some equipment breakdown, so I'm anticipating maybe Thursday or something. But if we can keep this dry weather, that site will continue to change quickly, so it's good to see that. We'll go right into the financials. Total project cost is at $73,066,931.50. Construction cost to date, $60,989,987.68. Billed to date is $47,014,725.54. That's 77% of the contract. Revised substantial completion date is 11/26. That's 1 day added, and that'll be with the forthcoming change order coming to you after this update, and that would revise the final completion to December 26th. It's going to be pretty wild if it landed on Christmas, though, you know. That'd put the pressure on everybody to be done the 24th. So contingency long, this does have change order 10 incorporated into it, which we'll go into. Based on its approval, that would leave you would be at 25% of your contingency used, and it's not showing the remaining balance, but let me get that. I'm sorry about that. We've got a cell hidden or something.
And it's roughly, what, 2.2 million left?
Yep. $2,275,000, $275,815.52. And that has went up since last time because change order 10 is a credit back with everything combined. So, building sequence, as always, the past 30-day progress. Area C controls are at 100%, lab casework and fume hoods 85%, and institutional casework 50%. Area E, voice and data 100%, storefront exterior doors 100%, and casework is at 55%. Area F, heat pumps are at 95%, sheetrock finishing at 95%, and prime and paint of sheetrock 75%. Area D, domestic water insulation 100%. First floor wiring's complete and duct is 95%. Area A, electrical rough-in is 95%, domestic water insulation 95%, and wiring is at 90%. Area B, exterior metal stud framing is complete, electrical rough-in 80%, and duct is at 80%. The site, the concrete curb and gutter has 50%. That's at the entrance and the student faculty parking. DGA base and student is placed at the student faculty parking at 80%, and sanitary sewer is at 90%. 30-day look ahead, complete. All these items are to be completed in the next 30 days. Area C, lab casework and fume hood, institutional casework, and establish permanent power. Area E, lab casework, institutional casework, and plumbing fixtures. Area F, duct installation, sheetrock finishing, and prime and paint of sheetrock. Area D, metal stud framing, duct and duct insulation, and hydronic piping. Area A, first, second floor electrical rough-in, first, second floor wiring, and domestic water insulation. Area B, first, second floor electrical rough in, domestic water insulation and duct. Site, complete the DGA and asphalt base at student faculty parking. Complete DGA base and asphalt at Tyrone Pike to Schoolhouse Road connection, and install curb and gutter from the faculty parking to the dumpster pad and greenhouse location. There's a comparison side by side from May to June. Not a lot of big differences at the front other than the site's cleaning up and the progress made on the entrance canopy. You'll see the canopy, there's a lot of progress. They're putting the roof on it. They've started with the metal panel installation, and of course your parking lots look a lot different this month. Biggest difference there, as you can see on the right-hand side, is the dumpster pad. Those walls are going up. Not a lot of changes to this area, except it's dry one month and wet the other. Same on the west side. There's not a lot of work going on that. They'll work their way around the building over the next month or two. There's just a shot of your parking lots and your exterior canopy and exterior concrete pavement. There's an updated site aerial. Interior photos, area C. It's unfortunate everything's covered and stuff. You can't see the finished product, but I assure you that is the best way to do it. So it keeps everything from getting damaged, and so that's what your restrooms look like at the moment in area C. And the water fountains there are outside the ganged restrooms facing the hallway. Area E, that's what each classroom looks like with the institutional casework, and you can kind of see the floor there finally. That strip of floor protection is removed. So, and then just another shot of the restrooms in area E. All plumbing fixtures are hung in those restrooms. Updated shot of the media center and second floor corridor of area F. That's facing the media center going down the corridor. Area D, storefronts installed at the cafeteria exterior. And then the admin, you can see all the sheetrock's been finished and painting has begun. Okay, track and field. Total project cost remains the same. Construction cost to date remains the same. Billed to date is now $2,609,522.48. That's 71% complete. Updated or revised substantial completion. So there was 14 weather days in May, which is probably the most I've ever said. I think it was 10 inches total of rain. The anticipated NOAA average is 8 days, and there was 22 days. So, but we've got some things to go into there as far as that date, but right now it stands at June 21st, substantial, and final July. Contingency log remains the same, and you are at a little over 55% used, with a remaining balance of $303,274.89. So there's not been a lot of progress on the track and field for a couple reasons. The last meeting I mentioned the pole vault and long jump location, and I think, is it Mr. Swingle, right? He caught it, I guess, and Mr. Smith ended up forwarding me some communication, but I guess what had happened was they had chosen for the pole vault to not be grouped with the long jump, and so that was sent to the design team, and the documents that were produced did not reflect that. They had them grouped together. So we were, as you can see, the dirt is on subgrade, and they've actually got stone over there now, but we had to pretty much stop what was going on back there and then forming up that concrete because it was incorrect. I think we realized that on May 15th. I've probably got all that, but So Ross Torrent ended up issuing the correct design a few weeks later, and so the good news is, the bad news is it held up about 3 weeks of progress back there. The good news is that both contractors involved with that change agreed to do it at no cost. So, you know, it cost us some time, but no doubt about it, they both could have justified additional cost, and they both agreed to just work with us and get it done. So that was a holdup, but it's all resolved. It's all issued, no cost change. There was just 2 options, and they accidentally put out the wrong one. So work can now continue on the back side of the track and field. The second thing is, I think it was after the May progress meeting, I met with Mr. Atkins and Mr. Smith. We talked, and it's been an ongoing conversation, even in these meetings, about the concession restroom and the lighting and the bleachers and all the items that you all did not get on bid day. You all do have a lot of contingency remaining in both projects, especially combined. My recommendation was to, if those are items you want, now is the time to figure out if you can do them before. The last thing we want to do is finish everything up and then tear it all back apart. That will end up costing you more money for no advantage. Our first approach was to put it out as the concession and restroom as a change order, kind of like all this other stuff goes out to those contractors. We did that. We didn't actually put it out. I just contacted each contractor involved because they've already put hard numbers to it. And so I asked them to revisit it and tell me if we're still in that ballpark, what price range we're at, and if it was in line with what we were thinking, that we would put it out as a proposal request and move forward. The numbers that came back were, in my opinion, insane, not realistic, and it was around $900,000, which isn't what that building cost. My opinion of it is that contractors are, you know, every contractor misses things on bid day, and sometimes there's opportunities to get the money back. And again, that's just my assumption. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's far beyond what the building should cost, is what I do know for a fact. So you don't want to go that route. It would not be feasible or make any sense for that to go out that way. So we're working with RTA to put it out as its own bid package. That would allow local contractors to bid on it. We would even be willing to bid on it to try to get the cost down. But the change order route was not smart on that by any means. So Ross Torrent told me today they expect that to be out by the end of the month, and then it would take a few weeks to bid it. But I look for it to be significantly lower than the prices I was hearing a week or 2 ago.
Can I ask a quick question on that? It might be Mr. Smith to answer, but how does that work with the contingency from one project being able to use? How could we cross that? Because I thought that the athletic fields had to be separate from the original high school. And can we use?
I could tell you what I know, but I think Mr. Smith probably knows more, so.
Yeah, so I had this discussion with Kelly Mersich, as you're aware of, our fiscal agent, a few weeks ago. And because we adopted House Bill 678, she is confident that we would be well within the parameters that KDE has outlined, that we would be able to use the contingency from the phase 1 and apply it to any of these things that Clay has been talking about for phase 2. And
Is there a process that we would have to file something with them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Do you know if it would require another BG?
No,
It wouldn't.
no,
so-
it doesn't require another BG.
Would it require any paperwork to KDE?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thanks. Also, I'm not sure exactly how much money we're gonna be talking about, but just putting it out there, we've always dreamed, wanted, needed concession bathroom area at the middle school also, so I don't know if they could do like a 2-for-1 deal, or while they're
That'd be
there,
great,
they could
wouldn't
throw
it?
one up for us.
Maybe
Just
that's what
putting
they
it
were
out there.
pricing on that. Maybe they were pricing 2 of them. That's what it seemed like. Yep. As far any more questions about that?
I just have one more. What about, and it may be a Mr. Smith question, but what about the lights and the bleachers? I know that that was something
I'm sorry,
too.
that was 2 other items. I got wrapped up in the concession and restroom, but they've asked me to get updated pricing. I think I'll have that this week. The concession building, that process will take a little longer, but I should have those numbers to you by next month's meeting.
And you could ostensibly do those even separate, right, lighting
Mhm.
and.
We could do them the same way.
Yeah.
It's cleaner if we can do it just through a change order process, and we'll do the same thing. We'll talk to them, see if the numbers are close, and if it seems like a fair price, and if not, we can put those out as a separate bid package, or I think you all can go through as, out of contract for, especially bleachers, yeah, yeah,
Okay, great, thank you.
yep. But we will be placing the track surface course this month, so that will continue, and now the backside work will continue, and as soon as we can get this concession restroom out to bid, and you all can look at the other items and see what you want to move forward with, that'll continue as well.
I did think of something. As you're going through and showing the parking lot that's being constructed, do we know, what's the comparison of the new parking lot space with what the high school has now? Do we know, are we getting more spaces? Are we getting less spaces? Do we know what the parking lot is compared?
I
like for
don't know a
student parking?
comparison between,
Okay.
I don't know what this high school holds.
Okay.
We did, do you know the number of spots? We went through that. I don't, a lot of numbers. I think, I probably have that though. It might be an email. I can, if he doesn't have it, I can send that to you
Sure, that
pretty
can be
quick,
followed up,
though.
no problem. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on that? Here is an updated schedule. We'll get to the good stuff. We're setting at a November 20th substantial completion with a final completion of December 20th. I believe we were in 9 days last month. I'm not sure, but lost a few. But again, we anticipate it to fluctuate. I'd like to see it keep going in the other direction, but we're still doing fine. So. Any other questions?
It looks beautiful, so excited, thank you.
We're excited too. Thank you all.
All right, so I make a motion that we approve high school change order number 10.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? Do you want to run through what those were? It was a net decrease overall.
Yeah. So there was, as we talked about, one weather day, and that was related to PR 46, which we'll get to in a minute. PR 43, visual display boards. Design team, basically what was submitted was not what they intended, so they sent out some other ideas. I think the marker board that they specified, you could no longer get it in maybe the size and color, so they had to make a change. And so that's the result of that, and it's a credit. So I think, all positive there. As far as it just, what they ended up requesting ended up being cheaper than what was bid, so, they can't still get that product, I guess is what I'm saying, so it's not even an option, so. PR 44, Media 225 bulkhead, that was, there was no, acoustical insulation shown. The bulkhead, I believe, was in a previous PR, but the bulkhead was included in that PR, and it included acoustical spray, and that was from where the media room 225 changed location, so the design team issued that to create that bulkhead and that acoustical spray. PR 45 FMD 102 data drops, provide price for 2 additional data drops in the teacher's desk and data outlet, which is a total of 4, and that was the FMD 102. I believe that was through a furniture meeting or a meeting that they had with representatives from the school, and it was decided that those additional data drops were needed at that location. PR 46, cooling tower and makeup water. So this one, I'll try to explain it the best. Plumbing code requires you to have backflow prevention to your cooling tower. So that meant the drawings did not show backflow prevention to the cooling tower. So that means you have to add an RPZ in order to have that backflow prevention. The problem is the pipe was running into the vault, and you can't locate a RPZ in a vault. So it required additional piping to the ag shop, the installation of an RPZ in the ag shop, and then additional line back out to the vault. So it was just simply the design did not align with the code requirements for the cooling tower, and it had to change, unfortunately. PR 47 records, 179 data and power. Same thing here. To my knowledge, through a meeting, they decided that additional data and power was needed at the records room. Media center push-out walls. There's these small walls shown in the media center near the windows, and they never indicated the wall type. If you don't indicate the wall type, a contractor doesn't bid it as a wall. So we realized that there was no wall type shown there, and that had to be resolved. That's the results of that. The asphalt paving section, that is a very large deduct. We stumbled upon that. The reason for that is there's a detail in the drawings that show if the site contractor uses shot rock fill for pavement, that it only, for example, requires 5 inches of stone. If they use clay, it requires 10 inches of stone. So anybody bidding that is going to go on the high end because they don't know what the site contractor is going to do. So we saw that and we thought, well, there's absolutely no way they bid 5 inches. They had to bid 10. So we issued a PR, and essentially that is getting back half the stone that was not going to be used anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like you're giving up something. It's just shot rock fill requires less stone on top than clay. So that was a very, very good find and worked out well. So PR 51, the Science 248 fume hoods. That was adding in the culinary room 147 acid waste drains for fume hood sinks, and in science room 248 as well. Also in science room 248, they had to add natural gas, domestic cold water, acid waste sink drains, and acid vents for fume hoods. So that was it was left off the mechanical drawings. And that was a cost of $9,285.
Any discussion, oh, I'm sorry, there's more.
This, We've had a few months with nothing, so it all adds up, you know. It builds up. PR 52, canopy column cut stone. The architect didn't like how the structural design met with architectural and the way the downspout drains and everything was going to tie in. When I say I don't like it, wasn't going to operate or look properly. So this was to change. They have to recut the canopy column stone, and they can't use what they already had on site. So that's the repercussions of that. PR 53, the concrete sidewalk. This was owner requested. It was all the additional sidewalk where the bus loop changed to the front. It's the extra sidewalk around to give more sidewalk for people unloading and loading on the buses. And then it's the sidewalk going around the auditorium and gymnasium to connect over to the student parking so that they can be on sidewalk all the way to the front door. PR 54, Office 148A data, additional data and paging to Office 148A. Again, to the best of my knowledge, that stemmed from a meeting where it was decided that that was needed in that office. PR 55, volleyball courts and sleeves. Another owner requested item that was so that the gym court, multiple games or practice, or you would have multiple volleyball courts on one gym floor instead of one. I think that went to 3 instead of 1. And I think that's similar to the setup you have now, is what my understanding. PR 56, this is owner requested, wax on VCT. I believe this was Sherman's recommendation. Most jobs have 2 coats of wax put on the VCT after it's installed. They requested to have 2 additional coats put on it before turning over to the owner. It helps with stain prevention and prolongs your VCT life, and I agree that doing it at that time instead of later would be ideal. So that's all VCT in the building. That's 2 more coats of wax on it before turned over to the owner. PR 57, parking lot numbering. That was owner requested as well, and that would be just strapping a numbering system on the student and faculty parking lots. PR 58, AV rack fiber is, there was no conduit shown between the auditorium AV rack and the auditorium platform. So that was missed on the design and had to be added. PR 60, monument sign lettering. The drawings only showed one set of lettering on the monument sign. It only shows one side of the monument. Typically, I know that seems like a no-brainer, but typically if you're talking about multiple locations, it'll say TYP is for typical, or show both sides, or clarify the number, but only one was shown. So an additional set of monument sign letters had to be added. PR 62 is the cafeteria duct opening. That is to, basically a ductwork was shown going through the cafeteria wall, and the elevation it was at was below ceiling, so it would be exposed. So this is rerouting that duct so that it's concealed and patching the hole that's already there. So the total of all those is a credit back to you of $47,000, $47,242.32.
Any discussion, questions on those? I would just like to say thank you for your diligence in making sure that we're getting the appropriate materials, we're getting enough of the appropriate materials. That credit for, what, $168,000, that is no small finding on your part. So I'd like to say thank you to Trace Creek for that diligence.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Ratliff.
Thank you all.
All right, that brings us to our good news report. We will start, yep, because we moved C down. Yep. We'll start with you, Mr. Brumley.
Thank you. I don't have much other than, summer's kicked off, so thank you to all of our teachers and administrators who are going through various professional development over the summer as we move into conference season for you all, in addition to getting ready for the next school year. Like Mr. Atkins said, all of our GSA, GSP, and GSE students went off and on their way. As a proud GSA and GSP alum, that's a fantastic program, and I wish all those students the best. I know the last of the crew for Moorhead GSP and Murray State GSP leave this upcoming weekend, and then GSA actually does 2 sessions, so we'll have some second session students that start towards the end of June. But good luck to all of those students, and then just a reminder, Juneteenth is on Wednesday. It's a fantastic holiday to be recognized, and I'm glad our school district and county is doing its part in recognizing such an important day. So other than that, thank you all again for allowing me to serve on this board throughout this past school year. I've really appreciated and enjoyed my time and look forward to all the amazing things Woodford County Public Schools does in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brumley. Ms. McCowan?
I don't have a whole lot either, except that, I really enjoyed graduation and getting to see all of the end of the year activities and things that our kids and our staff were involved in. And I just would want to thank Connor for being here at his last meeting. Thank you for all of your input over the last year. You've done a great job representing the students of Woodford County, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and I hope you have a great time this summer as you get ready for college.
Ms. Glass?
Well, I'm not going to let a meeting go by without celebrating our lacrosse state champs that they've won since our last meeting. I know at least for Miss McHale and I and Miss Springate, when we were on the board, was one of my first board decisions when we voted to sanction lacrosse as a sport here in Woodford County. And lots of those parents could see this is how this program was going to come about. So it was really neat to see that come to fruition and see those kids celebrate that, a really historic championship. Also, one other.
A lot of kids on those teams too. I
Yes.
felt like we opened up a sport that really
Yes.
allows a lot of participation.
Yeah.
It's not like a basketball team or anything.
Yeah.
Those are some big
teams.
out there. So, sorry.
That's okay. And then one other student that I wanted to celebrate that has also won a state championship since school has been out is an incoming senior, Chase Thurman, won the state championship in turbo javelin, and he broke the school record as well. And then 2 days later left for boot camp to serve in the Army, and will come back and finish his senior year next year. So just wanted to celebrate all those athletes, and also thank Miss Cooper for her last meeting, and that we'll miss her, and she's talking and she's not even listening, but that's okay. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. From my end, graduation always, as I've said, is one of my most favorite days, and this year was no different. Wanted to note the heat this week, just in case anybody doesn't have social media that might happen to be here or watching the meeting. There is a cooling station that's open now at Living Grace Church, and it's going to be any day over the summer that it reaches over 90 degrees. The church will be open from 10:30 till I think it's 6 o'clock. To provide a cool area for anybody that might not have that ability in their home. So thank you, first of all, to the church, and then secondly, of course, anybody that needs that, please take advantage of that. Mr. Brickler?
Yeah, just to kind of echo, graduation was amazing, and getting to see those that we've gotten to know over the last couple of years, like walk down, and it was just amazing to hand that diploma over and to see that, be part of that milestone, which is so big for you all, but also just really great for us too, to see the success that you've had. I also want to throw a shout out to the staff members and the students that are doing summer programs, and not just because school year's over, they're still doing things. I know Southside held a STEM focused camp. Many staff members participated in that. I know the high school soccer team are hosting a camp, and I know there's a lot of others that I'm not mentioning, but I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that even put stuff out there for the summer when you could be taking a break, when you could be relaxing and doing things that encourage younger students or, all the students to participate in fun and things that can help them grow. So really appreciate all that. And a Kids Win Parade was a lot of fun as well. Great food. Thanks to everybody for cooking, for providing that, to all the businesses and food trucks that came over, and then just everybody that facilitated it, all the floats and all the staff members that walked down, some of them that wore very hot costumes for mascots, so appreciate that as well. But yeah, that was another great time. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Brickler. Ms. Springate?
I just wanted to share that we did get an invitation for the GED graduation. That's going to be at East Jessamine High School next Thursday. It's on 6/27 at 7 p.m. And hopefully we can make it over there because that's such a wonderful, wonderful celebration. And it's so good for our community and our students and our families in Woodford County to have that opportunity. So thank you for inviting us.
Okay, we'll move on to our instructional equity report with Ms. Tracy this month.
Hi, not the same face you're used to each month. Mr. Asher is away this week, so I'm going to step in for him. I just have a couple updates for you. I would love to tell you what day of school it is, but all of our summer schools are in different places, so that's where I'll start out and tell you a little bit about where they are where all of them are, and what we've accomplished so far. So our elementary started actually on June the 3rd. They go 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is a change this year. We used to go the middle 3 days of the week, and now we're starting at the beginning. They will be off on Wednesday, and then they will go again next week. So that will wrap up their June work. That's 4 weeks that they got in June. We are working with the Kentucky Equity-Based Tutoring Program again this year. That is providing 16 tutors in addition to our summer school staff, and they're receiving interventions in TRI, targeted reading intervention, and some math work also. That is all action research based. So thank you for your previous passing of that program. It is definitely a benefit for our kids. We are progress monitoring them with Ames Web Plus, which we are piloting to use for future use in the district, and are really pleased with that. So stay tuned for August report. I don't remember what that board meeting is. Hopefully we have all that wrapped up to give you some feedback from our elementary summer school. They will have 2 weeks in July also. They'll come back on the 8th. We take 2 weeks off, and they come back on the 8th and are there until the 17th is the last day. Our highest number of enrollment has been 141, so over 120 students every day, ranging from 120 to 141. So that's 141 kids fed and loved, and just kind of sparked another interest in learning and intervention. So that always makes us happy. The principals, the elementary principals, have been taking turns coming in and being there and seeing the kids each day. So I know that they like to see them. So I appreciate their support, those admin supporting the program as well. Let's see here. For our middle school, they started a week after. So they didn't start the same day as the middle school. They are going on the same schedule after. So instead of a 6-week schedule, they're doing a 5-week schedule. They've got 14 students that are doing credit recovery, and they've got 6 students in a small group. So they're receiving some intervention and targeted assistance, whereas we've got some other students that are doing some edgenuity work and credit recovery. Those are both housed at the middle school. The high school has wrapped up their summer school. They had 68 students enrolled. And I don't have a total count on the credits that they were trying to recover. It is strictly credit recovery for our high school students. We do have a few students that are doing some virtual work that didn't get wrapped up in the in-person the first 2 weeks. We do not have any, if you remember last year, we had a summer school graduation because we had some of those 12th graders that didn't make it through the first walk line ceremony. And so they did finish up during summer school, and we did have a small ceremony for them. We do not have any 12th graders this year that are going through that. So you're not missing anything. If you're looking for an invite, it's not coming. We don't have any in that grade, which hopefully tells us that they did the job the first time around. Let's see. I think that gives them double checking my notes. I don't think there's anything else about summer school. Best Practice Academy is another thing that's been going on with our curriculum and instruction team. We started it. We had 2 days, May the 30th and May the 31st. We had 6 sessions going then. 157 of our staff already participated in some additional training. One of the activities was a full day at Northside, an outdoor learning symposium. That was a state. We collaborated with a state association that came in and ran that program that day. Had a really, really great feedback from that professional development. Other sessions were held at the middle school, some 3-hour sessions, and from various topics, but all tying back to our Portrait of a Learner. That's the overarching theme of our best practice this year, Paths to the Portrait. We will have another 5 days of training for our teachers in this best practice, and it will be July 29th through August the 2nd. So that week, all 5 days, 60 more session offered. We're going to try out some 1-hour sessions and some 3-hour sessions, and then there are some full day 6-hour also. So they get to a little bit of choice in how they get their 6 hours, trying to retain it any opportunity that we can, give them some options instead of some mandates. So, and I have some good news. I did not get in on the good news report. I know this is not what Ryan typically does, but we also went to a conference last week, and it was at CKEC put it on, and it was at Eastern Kentucky, and I won the trip, and it's it's a trip to the Ron Clark Academy. And if you don't know Ron Clark's work or the Academy, then I would urge you to Google it. But I'm super excited about that, and I will definitely tell you about that whenever I come back. Any questions about Best Practice Academy or summer school before I turn it over to our curriculum instruction guest tonight?
No questions, but it did remind me of one other thing for good news too, when you mentioned feeding kids every day. So we do have a wonderful summer food program, and I think Dr. Rayburn and is it Mr. Smith going out even on school buses? In transportation, even delivering food to our kiddos. So that was a good reminder for me. I did want to give a shout out for that. So thank you for that reminder.
Good.
Any questions for Ms. Tracy?
Okay, I am going to turn it over to our guest tonight from Curriculum Instruction. This is Mary Newton from Adult Education, and she's going to give you a little update on that program.
It's good to be here. I'm Mary Newton, and I'm the Director of Adult Education. I work for Jessamine County Schools, and if you're wondering what I'm doing in front of you, since 2018-19 school year, we have been partnering to provide adult education services in our 2 counties. At that time, Kentucky Adult Education went to a service area model and encouraged partnerships to streamline administration and put more dollars back into services for students. So here I am. We have had the busiest year easily since COVID. Every year, Kentucky Adult Education gives us performance goals based on our county needs. And so we have an enrollment goal and we have a GED goal. Our enrollment goal for our service area, so they don't really break it down between Jessamine and Woodford, but it's kind of based on census data that shows your county need. Our enrollment goal was 227 students for the fiscal year. We met that before Christmas. So if that gives you some idea of what's been going on. In particular in Jessamine, we have seen a huge boom in ESL. You probably know that a lot of Ukrainian refugees have moved into our community. So we got a grant from the Kentucky Office for Refugees to kind of increase our services for that population. Last year we had 24 students from the Ukraine. This year we had over 100. So that was a big jump for us. ESL in Woodford has also continued to mushroom. I have had to cap classes here, so we've actually had to turn people away for services. I hate to say that, but we physically had no more space. In case you don't know, our office is at the Thoroughbred Center. We share offices with your migrant education program. So starting next year, we are going to be doubling our offerings. We were doing evening classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. We're now going to be doing classes Monday through Thursday so we can have 2 cohort sessions, so hopefully can serve a whole lot more people. Going to flip through here. You all have such a full agenda tonight that I don't know that I'm going to go through everything that I had planned. I've been doing this for 26 years and I love to talk about my program. It's so awesome. But who we serve, you know, a lot of people think about adult ed as just the GED. And for years, that's kind of what our bread and butter was. And of course, that still is a big part of what we do. But we're part of the Education and Labor Cabinet for Kentucky, so our job is really to help connect people with whatever skills they need that are going to get them to the workforce. And certainly, in a lot of cases, that is a GED, but sometimes it's English as a second language. Sometimes it's getting an industry credential that's going to help them get a job. Sometimes it's helping them upskill in their current job so that they can move up within their company. And so we've been doing a lot more in that arena. Just last week, we did a CDL training for Jessamine County Schools. We've done that in the past here. Our district, like every district in Kentucky, has struggled with getting enough bus drivers to keep the buses on the road. Year before last, our superintendent, Matt Moore, almost had to cancel school a couple of times because we had so many call-ins and we just didn't have enough drivers. So we do a CDL permit prep class that helps people pass the written portion of the CDL test. And that's really the hardest part. It was for me when I got my regular driver's license. You know, road test was fine, but the permit test is pretty hard. You know, previously people would apply for a job and they'd get a manual that was like this thick, you know, good luck, and come back when you have your permit. And so they were losing a lot of good candidates that way. So we do a week-long prep class to help kind of get over that obstacle. It's been really successful. That same year that we said we had to almost close school, by the end of that year when we did our last training, they were fully staffed for the first time in 2 decades. That was huge. It lasted about 5 minutes, but for just that amount of time, you know, we really had solved the problem. So we continue to do those trainings, you know, whenever we get the bat signal and, you know, more people have retired or whatever, they've had more resignations, and we'll do those periodically. I would love to do that for Woodford County Schools if that is ever a need that you have. I don't know if that is something that you all struggle with as much as we have. Kind of, yes, maybe sometimes, yeah. Do you? Okay. I guess our guys were so busy covering substitute routes that they weren't having enough time to do the training. But it's been a really good partnership. It doesn't cost the school system anything. The service is free. That's what the adult education funding is for. So take advantage of us for that. We also do all the onboarding for our new food service workers. I've done that for Courtney before when she's needed it, but every new food service employee for Jessamine County Schools comes through us. We do all the food handlers, Kentucky One training. It takes a lot off of their plate. This year, we did something really special I'm very proud of. We did a leadership academy for classified employees. So our district, you know, we have a lot more schools, so there's a head custodian for each of the 13 schools. There's a cafeteria manager, there are assistant custodians. And a lot of those folks got into their position because they were good workers. You know, they took the job, they did well, they got promoted. But there's not really a time that somebody pulls you aside and says, okay, now here's how you manage people. And so there was a little bit of trouble with that. You know, some people needed to work on their people skills. Some people needed to be more assertive with their employees. Some people needed to ease up a little bit. You know, we were having some trouble with staff retention. So we talked about things like conflict in the workplace. We talked about communication skills. We talked about how to have difficult conversations. We used a book called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 5 Languages of Appreciation if your husband or wife made you read that, Gary Chapman. But he wrote a book dealing with the same concept, but with the workplace. And the premise of that is we need to value our employees. And maybe we do value them, but do they know it? That the number one reason that people leave a job is not because of money, it's because they don't feel valued. So that was kind of our focus, is working on retention by showing value. So we all took a languages of appreciation personal assessment and learned what our personal language was. Is it, words of affirmation? Some people would love for you to recognize them in the staff meeting. Some people would die of embarrassment if you did that. Some people want a note. Just what are the things that we can do to kind of wrap around our employees and keep them? So that was a great success. We had 35 employees go through that. Wonderful feedback. Both of the departments, the food service and custodial, want to continue that next year. This picture that you see here, the one that's in the middle, I passed my GED. I wish you could see what it says at the bottom of that. It says, "Don't ask me to solve for X ever again." Like ever. So Ms. Springate mentioned that our GED graduation is coming up. It is next Thursday, the 27th at 7 p.m. If you've never been to a GED graduation, I can tell you it is one of the most heartwarming experiences you will have. Your graduation rate for your high schools here is through the roof at Woodford County Schools. Jessamyn's is good also. Pretty much, unless something goes off the rails, kids are graduating from school. But the people that we see, something did go off the rails, somewhere along the way. It may not have been somebody who came through your school system. It could have been somebody that moved here from another community. But this graduation is like watching a Rocky movie. It really is. It's the people who needed a second chance. It's the comeback. So if you have an opportunity, I would love for you to come. Ryan Asher is coming. I asked him to do a special presentation. We always give out the highest score of the year. That person was from Woodford County this year, so it was a student named James Sikorsky. I don't know if that rings a bell for any of you, but he got the highest score in the service area. So Ryan said he would love to have a co-presenter if anybody wants to come. This is just kind of a snapshot of some of the data of who we've been serving. I mentioned that we made our goal by mid-year, so we are ending the year at 148% of our goal. For enrollment, we are second in the state for enrollment. Our GED goal, we shot through that to 122%. We are third in the state for GED attainment. So those are some really hard-fought numbers. I'm very proud of those. And this is just a kind of a glimpse of some highlights of different folks that we serve. I'm going to skip that video because I know you have a full agenda. I'm going to send it to you. It's just talking about our workplace partnerships. It's something I had made for a Chamber of Commerce meeting, but I'll just send that out to you. So if there's anything else that I can do for Woodford County Schools, for the community, other than GED, other than ESL, if I don't have the staff to do it, I'll hire somebody adjunct to do it. But think about the needs of your community and how we can better serve. Woodford County has the lowest unemployment in the state of Kentucky. So folks are working here. Really where I'm seeing the growth opportunity for Woodford County is in our ESL services. Your need for GED is not as great, but Woodford County has the 10th highest population of non-native English speakers in the state. So that's out of 120. So Jasmine County is number 8, Woodford is number 10. That might surprise you a little bit, but we're going to continue to grow our ESL. This is one of your graduates. I don't know if you recognize her. This is Mary Richardson with her math teacher. She will be at GED graduation next week. What questions do you have for me?
No, I'm so appreciative that you were able to come tonight. It's probably services that not a lot of people even know are offered through Woodford County and through Jessamyn County, and especially some of those workplace training type opportunities are things that we talk about all the time with getting people career ready, and it's not just about that diploma or college. So I really appreciate the insights. I think it's really great information, and I will be there on Thursday to see that graduation next year. Very
Great.
excited. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Newton, for everything you do, and we've greatly enjoyed the partnership, and I will be there as well next
Oh,
Thursday night, so,
wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you too before you leave. I have really seen the difference that this makes in my work life for families. To get that GED for a parent and to be able to have those opportunities and the training and the retention, it's just amazing. So thank you, and please thank your staff.
Well, yes, you shared that you had a family member that was a GED graduate. I do as well. My mother was a GED graduate. I have her diploma hanging in my office. So yeah, means a lot.
Well, thank you. And any information you can share, because since we partner with this, any way that we can promote this as well, besides just this meeting, let us know and whatever we can do. And we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have our public comment. I do have some folks signed up in person. I also have one email. I will read the email first, and then I'll call folks up to speak. The first one is regarding Legends Sidewalk from Cassie Barnes. It says, members of the board, as a homeowner in Legends subdivision and parent to a Southside third grader and incoming kindergartner, it is my hope that the board takes action on and approves either option 2A or 2B for sidewalk access to Southside Elementary School. I know that my family and others would utilize this option, which would in turn alleviate some traffic congestion issues during morning drop-off, afternoon pickup, and would further allow families the choice to allow their child or children to walk to school versus getting on a bus at 6:30 a.m. when their neighborhood school is right next door. While I do not fully understand the rationale or need for additional fencing, which adds to the cost of the proposal, it is my hope that the board considers the use of the sidewalk by multiple families in the Legends neighborhood and the equitable need for walkable access to the school a worthwhile investment. Thank you, Cassie Barnes. Okay, then we have Joel Huber signed up for public comment. Mr. Huber?
Good evening. I really appreciate you guys that you do the Good News Report every week. I just want to say thank you for doing that. And that's why I'm here tonight. I've got some good news that I'd like to share with you guys, and more importantly, that I'd like to share with all of the students at our new high school building that we're just about ready to move into. And what I've got here in front of me is what I would like to ask you guys to consider for installing as a cornerstone at the entrance to our new high school building. I know that here a little while back, we had a Masonic cornerstone that was proposed and I guess approved. And I would just like for you guys to consider this, because I can't think of any better news for our students to have coming in and going from that building, and anybody else that comes in and out of that building, than the good news of Jesus Christ. Because I know that everything that we honor him with is going to be good for us. And I want the best for our community, and I just ask that you consider this. So this new cornerstone, just like you see in front of us, has John 3:16 on it. And where that cornerstone is at in the new building, I mean, that's a very prominent place. It's very well placed. A lot of folks are going to see that. This is a good message that our folks need. And I just ask that you'll consider that and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. Next we have, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce the name, Liz Rudisell. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did great.
Excellent. Thank you.
So as she said, my name is Liz Rudisell, and I work in the mental health field. I also am the manager of a workplace violence prevention program. But today I'm coming to you as a Legends resident and as Parker and Charlotte's mommy. So I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak, and also thank you for moving it up in the agenda. I have 2 kids that I've got to get in bed shortly. So it's very, very helpful. Also, just want to say quickly, to show my appreciation to Sarah McCune for continuing to really advocate and put a voice to her district and all of the residents of the Legends. So thank you. So I've watched all of the past recordings of the discussions regarding the pass-through and the board, so I feel pretty up to speed on some of the past things that have been concerns, some of the things that have been barriers, but also ideas and things that you all wanted to kind of look at before making a final decision. So just to let you know that I do have that background information. So I've been able to kind of, again, take a step back and look at, okay, from my perspective as a resident in the Legends, but then as a perspective from the board, you know, how can these two perspectives come together and really reach an amenable solution for everyone that we all feel is in the best interest of our kids, because ultimately that is what we want, right? So it was surprising, I think, for some residents to feel kind of like that there was maybe initially resistance to the problem solving of this issue. And again, thank you for continuing to do the legwork, because I do know that we've got to look at feasibility, we've got to look at budget, we've got to look at safety. All those things are important, right? And we also have to balance the emotional and also the rational mind when assessing the risk of possible incidents and all those types of things. The good news is that you have the opportunity to do this the right way, to do this in the safe way, to do this in the most budget conscious way and informed, right? So I would like to again, voice my support for that. Once I was able to access the attachment for the estimates that were obtained, I spoke with a handful of other parents and residents of the Legends about their impressions, and I feel like that's how I can be most helpful today, is just to kind of speak a little bit to what some of that feedback was. A small handful of individuals were kind of surprised that the original layout that I think we all kind of had in mind was not one of the options. I also kind of shared some information about, because I have watched the past discussions, right, about the safety assessment that was done, what has been alluded to in terms of that information, although we don't really have access to it, but also just the access points, the thoughts behind looking at those types of things, but then also looking at the budget and saying, how much is this actually going to cost? Can we get the numbers to that? I will say that the majority of those parents opposed option number one. So in fact, one person said, if option number one is the option, then I'm still going to be driving my kid to school, because the consensus was that the safety for walking down the sidewalk next to where traffic is going to be coming in and out felt a little bit more uneasy than the pass-through or option 2A or B. Again, option 2A or 2B felt like an amenable compromise for the majority of parents. I didn't get any feedback from individuals who were right there at the walkthrough whether they would want a gate or I'm sorry, a fence right there on the Legends side, but there could be people that could speak to that. The assumption that we kind of made was that those options are amenable to the board, since those were the ones that were kind of put forth, and so we're hoping that that's the case, given that there were some previous barriers noted. You can imagine how difficult it might be for residents to understand the rationality of some of the early discussions related to the objections, with the knowledge that there are multiple access points for several other schools in Woodford County, and as has been previously presented here at the board meetings. And we just want, I can speak for myself on this one. I'm excited for my kiddo to start kindergarten at Southside in the fall. My other kiddo is going to start next year, so I'm going to be invested in Southside for a very long time. My husband is a Woodford County graduate. He wanted to move back here because he has that pride. He knows that the reputation of the schools here are amazing. And so I wanted the best for my kids too, and we think that that's here. We implore you to get across the finish line with a solution that is amenable to the board and the Legends residents. And I think that for the majority of the people that I talk to, that the 2A or 2B option seems to be that idea. So thank you so much again for letting me speak. If you have any questions you want to ask me, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Penny Lee?
Hi, my name is Penny Lee, and I live on Ridgeview Road. We are adjacent to the high school, and we have a big mountain of dirt and concrete that I believe will be removed when the tennis courts go in. We all understand that. When our homes were built, we realized that the high school was going to be there and all this was going to take place. The problem is, on the other side, has become a big dumping ground. I have pictures on my phone where the grass is taller than me. Everybody in the surrounding area seems to feel like this is a great place to get rid of their stoves or whatever else they want to get rid of, and the grass is so high you can't even see it. I can show you pictures if you want to pass them around.
If you would like to email those to us, that might be a better option, and if there's a specific request for what you would like, it would
Yeah,
be
we
great to
do.
hear
Well,
back.
all we really would like is to have somebody go in there and bush hog it.
Yeah.
Get rid of all of the debris back there. I mean, it's like I said, there's a no dumping sign back there. But people show up in the middle of the night or at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. They're remodeling, and it's a good place to dump it. We'll just put it back there. We haven't spoke up sooner because I talked with the local realtor who said that this ground is yours. And so I'm asking and begging, actually, that you can maybe have somebody bush hog it, and whoever goes in there is going to have to be really careful because there is, I mean, I've seen stove hoods in there. It's bad. It's really bad. And we have, I'll show you the pictures. We have a 9-year-old special needs girl that lives in the cul-de-sac. My dog got out, and he fell in one of these open water things. I don't know what you would call it. The only reason I knew he was there because he was barking. If this poor little kid ever got caught in there, she'd be seriously hurt. And you can't see it because of the grass. I mean, it really, really is bad. I know that the big mountain of dirt, that's all and all the concrete slabs, that was all from the high school. But we do understand that that's going to be taken care of when the tennis courts go in and all that stuff. We know that. But the other part, we would really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. The average age there is between 70 and 90. And I would say that's like 80% in that block and a half. The other people that do have little kids live in the Anderson homes that they built there. So for their safety even too. I mean, if one of those kids gets caught up in there, I don't know what they would be hurt on. So we really would appreciate it if you would look into it, and I'll be more than happy to send you these pictures.
Please do send them to all the board members, and also make sure to include Mr. Adkins on it as well, because he'll likely be the one that takes
I mean, all it needs
the lead on
is a
that.
big cleanup and a bush hogging, and like I said, the police are great. I mean, they come down our alley all the time, but it seems like they're never there when the pickup trucks show up to throw in their concrete and their dirt and their whatever else they're throwing away. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, our consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Brickler,
Second.
second by Ms. Glass. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 3-2. Moving on to the regular agenda, can I have a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Next, we have, can I have a motion to accept notification of payment of bills?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass. I will second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 3-2. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 13th, 2024 board meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. McCowan,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion motion passes 5-0. So I'll need a motion for the options. Well, I guess first of all, so this is our next agenda item. Why don't we go ahead and present what the options are, and then we can have a motion for an approval.
I don't have the exact options that you have listed there. I'm not sure if they're in exact order. I can give you the ones that I came up with. I'm not sure if mine are labeled the same as
They're attached. You should have them attached.
just to refresh your memory before we go to this, we were asked by the board to do a follow-up on the South Side project. Asked for the Center for School Safety to come down and send a consultant to kind of review the project. We did come down a few weeks ago. Myself, Officer Shryock, who's the SRO there at South Side. We did a walkthrough and kind of presented all the options in person to him. It's kind of where we came up with these conclusions today.
Can you scroll back for a second so we can see, maybe start with, okay. So
And, I'm sorry, a little background on the consultant that came down. It's Ray Woodyard. He's been in the education, I want to say 30-something years. He's actually a Woodford County resident, former employee here, and a board member at one time, so he's familiar with the area as well, if that kind of helps with that part.
So he's with the Kentucky Council for Safe Schools, right?
Kentucky Center for
Chief,
School
so
Safety.
you had them come back?
Yes, sir. He's one of their
We'll follow up,
consultants. A different group came by in September, which we saw the report, which they did not recommend the cut through. So we had him come down like a second opinion, and we walked back through it again with him.
So all three of these options that are presented tonight have the endorsement or the I hesitate to use the word approval, but the endorsement of Kentucky Center for Safe Schools.
I have to read them as we go through. Option one looks like the sidewalk running down the front driveway. I don't have a picture with that so much. That's what it looks like. On mine, that was
So that was
a
attached.
different
so
option number.
That was A, if we want to scroll down and look at that.
Show a picture. That looks like the sidewalk running down the front driveway. I do want to be clear, because Center for School Safety did not endorse or recommend anything.
Okay.
They gave what they described as either no or a viable option.
They were
Okay,
viable
these are all
options.
These were
viable
viable
options.
options.
Yeah,
Not
I
recommend
was
or-
struggling for a word to
Correct.
use.
They did not recommend or endorse anything. I'll make that clear.
Okay. So.
That would be, that's running along the front sidewalk, accessing the highway all the way down to the front of the school. That was one viable option. They did declare that was viable. 2A. That was another viable option. That was where the current hole used to be, and running along the current fence line. Basically take some landscaping, adding some double-sided fencing, directing the students and visitors to walk towards the front of the school. That was another viable option.
Yeah, 2A was the one side fencing, right?
Yes, 2A.
And 2B is the double side fencing.
Yes. And one reason why we did that, looked at that, is we don't know whose fence the other one is. If that gets torn down, if that disappears, this would, again, basically like a little corral where it would kind of keep students more secure if we chose that option.
And is 2A, is that is with one-sided fence, right? If we say 2A, it includes the fence, so.
Yep. On the south
Yeah,
side,
the one
side.
On the school side.
Yep.
Yeah,
That appears correct.
okay. And then B is obviously both sides, so they've got sort of a corral to walk down. And A is coming up from Main Street and just coming down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a sidewalk
down the
already
strip.
on Main Street,
Mhm.
and we would be extending that sidewalk.
And there is a small piece of that that's owned by the city, and we can't put sidewalk on that, but
It's
I'm
paved.
sure.
It's
yeah.
still paved.
It's still paved, okay, all right. So, okay,
Just to be clear too, I do want to make sure we addressed other options, because just to be, there were out there. We did look at, one of the suggestion was just cutting a hole in the fence. That was a no, a hard no. The other part was connecting the hole in the fence to the back corner of the school. Again, that was another no from Center for School Safety. We looked at the front entrance. I think Ms. McCowan brought it up. It'd been great. if a house hadn't been built. But unfortunately, between the photograph and time this came about as an issue, the house was there. And we've looked at the other side of that. I think Mr. Smith has looked into that, and homeowner or landowners don't want to progress anything with their any kind of project. So really, there's about 6 options that we kind of considered. Several were hard no's, and again, 2 considered viable. After listening to the Center for School Safety, their first recommendation was a no. Again, they would not recommend it this time. And after sitting down with them again, I can't, in good faith, give my approval for the project. I think it's a convenience issue. If I live there, I'd want it as a parent. I'm a reasonable person. My kids are in college, one just graduated. Don't deny it one bit. But my role here is school safety. And I take it very seriously. And once that kid steps on our property, they're ours. So that's like with the board, it's your decision, like we have to look at. But my role, it purely is, well, my title is school safety coordinator. And I just have to look at it that way. It doesn't prevent anything totally, but it's a school safety layered approach. We have cameras, we have signage, we have officers. I'm a deterrent. I don't prevent anything. But every layer we put out there is. If we open this up, we've taken away one layer of that school safety. It's taking the camera down, same way. Unlocking the doors, the same way, is the way I look at it. So if we remove a layer, that's one risk we face. So I ask you to consider that tonight, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Was that your opinion for all 3 options that were presented?
Yes, I mean, I just opened it, it's been secured. We don't know who cut the whole, whatever time back. Since that time, before this kind of came up as an issue, the maintenance department secured it back. It's got some temporary gate, it's wired shut, it's closed off. The hole's not existent at this point. That's why I would recommend no. If the hole was still there, maybe I'd look at it differently, but it's not. It's been secured, so now to remove that layer, I just can't support that.
But that option 1 had nothing to do with the hole, right? Option 1 is coming from the top of the school.
The front sidewalk?
Right.
Yes, I just wouldn't recommend that one. I don't think that's a solution anybody wants. Again, it's a viable option. That's what KCS says. That was one of their options they came up with, and that's what they consider viable.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So when you're talking about removing a layer, I think back in August or whenever this first came up, when I went out there, it was just the same fence that has been on that farm for a long, long time. I don't know, however long it's been there. So that's what existed then. It wasn't removed at that time, but it was kind of like, loosely put up. And I'm not sure who did that. But then when we went back probably, I don't know, a couple months ago, 3 months ago, that's when there were some more reinforcement type things. And I'm assuming that's what the school district did.
Again, that would be my assumption. I wasn't
Do you know,
privy to
Mr.
any of that.
Atkins?
There were some sharp edges. There was, where somebody had cut it. There was very
Sure.
large rocks, and again, who put that initiative together for that? But
So
it's been secured more better than what it was. There's no opening there, put it that way.
Right. So are you saying that because that happened sometime between August and a few months ago, that's why you are not supporting this project?
That would be part of it, because again, we're opening the hole that's no longer there. By opening that hole, we're dropping one of those layers. That's
Right.
why, that is one part reason. And again, the Center for School Safety is my experts who I turn to, and they've been pretty
Sure.
positive both times, and they're not for it, so.
I
it's just
think
kinda-
with that too, I think it's important because we've talked about all of the other schools in this county except for 2. All of the other schools, and that's Safe Harbor and Simmons, all of the other schools have multiple access points. So I would hope that, if the Kentucky Center for School Safety has come out and audited Southside, that they're going to do the same thing for our other schools as well. Because what it feels like sometimes is that it's used as leverage to say yes or no. Because the Kentucky Center for School Safety has not audited our schools on a regular basis. They come as we request them to. So that's just kind of how it feels to me. So I would hope that, given all of the other information that we've discussed over the last several months, that this same attention is focused on the other schools as well. Because there are multiple access points with no sidewalks, no lights, nothing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we always have to think of, just because something's been away for so long, this is bringing up a valid point that maybe we do need to review and look at our other properties and see what we need. I even had a community member reach out to me last week about fencing on a playground. And so the community's thinking about it, which means we need to think about it. So I think this probably does open a bit of a door for us to look at the other schools and see, is there a need for additional, you know, gates, fencing, whatever it might be.
But I also think they are completely separate discussions. And the situation at one school has zero to do with the situation at Southside and the situation at any other school. These are completely different discussions that we're having. I wouldn't say that there's any leverage being used on any of them other than to say that we're not discussing the other ones. We're discussing this particular situation at this particular school right now. So I think we can focus on this situation, come to an agreement on this situation, and then move forward with everything else. And we don't know what's different about those other situations. They're certainly different, and I think the assessments would certainly come back differently. So I think it's unfair to use the fact that we have other schools that have openings or sidewalks or whatever the case is as a reason to just approve this. But I'm obviously open to the discussion, open to the ability, and, you know, want to find a way to fix this.
And I think it's, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I just think it's important to be fair and equitable, and I also think it's important to really read that report that came out and understand that those recommendations were not Southside specific. They were district-wide recommendations as far as the vast majority. I think the very small portion, maybe sentence or two, that was about this particular issue really didn't have any recommendations one way or the other as far as the hole in the fencing. And I also think it's important to realize that not only do other schools have, you know, access, but even at Southside, there's the vast majority of Southside around the campus is, you know, easily accessible. And so I definitely think that you want to balance, and I very much appreciate Chief Sutton's input and, you know, diligence in having the folks come out and check. But I think it's really important to really read that report and really understand exactly what that report is saying, and know that that's for all of our campuses. And the very, very small sentence or two that's about this, to kind of really read that and maybe refocus and refresh our memory.
I think that Chief Sutton gave us an interpretation of that the last time we talked about this, and if you wouldn't mind to refresh our memories, but I think that what we had talked about was that the Kentucky Center for School Safety's absolutely said that this was not a viable option. That hole was not something
Correct.
that was a viable option.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Regardless of whatever that report said or didn't say district-wide, we have.
And the original report, just to be clear too, they're going to do 2 next year, and they just kind of do a general. Some of it's in the risk assessment, like they talk about. It's a kind of a broad-based report. But I will be clear, this time was just for Southside. We made sure, you know, that's the only thing was that they were there for that day was that fence. No other option, no other sentence. That's it.
And we asked them specifically for that,
Yes,
and that's
ma'am.
not generally how that works
Correct.
either. It's not that we ask them to come out and do an assessment. They are doing an assessment every couple years or something.
They have a limited number of slots available. We always kind of ask
Yeah.
for 2. One year we was all got with Safe Harbor, and one thing they recommended there,
Yeah.
which I agree with, was the fence they put up.
They recommended a fence at Safe Harbor.
And we did that. And one thing I want to make clear of tonight is, you know, again, all of Southside is not fenced. Maybe it needs it, but we're talking about, do we need to create that? Well, we need extra cameras, and usually Mr. Smith is pretty good about getting us some every budget cycle. But we're talking about taking something away, not adding something. There's a big difference there with me. You know, we're not we may need to put a fence up, but we're not taking one down on the other side of the school. It looks like to me they're probably going to develop that to someday. Is that something 5 years, 2 years down the road we have to look at when that's done? That's a possibility. But right there, that subdivision's not there. There's no fence to take down yet. I know Northside was brought up at the one meeting. Again, we didn't do any of that work either. That was not our project. You have to go back to who owns what fence and what land. You know, this is our board, our land, our property. So it's gonna be our decision on what happens. And again, we're taking away something, not adding something. I think that's something we have to really consider.
I think too, just to point out, whenever I was doing lots of research on this issue and trying to get as much information as I possibly could so that we could make have all the information possible to make a good decision, when I wanted to look at the reports from the Kentucky Center for School Safety so I could see if there had been mention of this issue at other schools. There hadn't been anything done since 2011. So it's not something that's seems like, aside from Safe Harbor, which was done recently, and there was one other school, so, the high school, yep. So there hadn't been anything done regularly that I could even compare it to.
One thing I'd also like to talk about during this conversation is the process for dropping off children and picking them up, because I don't think we've really brought that up, where, I mean, today with the drop-off line, the parents or grandparents or whoever are physically dropping them off at the front of the school. I want to be clear, or maybe somebody can answer this. We can't just drop kindergartners off at a neighborhood and have them walk to school by themselves, right? Like, currently, you have to be in 4th or 5th grade to get off of the bus by yourself without a parent at the bus stop, right?
Leaving school and coming to school is a little bit different.
So could
because
you
you're
walk
not
through-
on-
yeah.
Because you're on property leaving, you're not, you know, and if you're coming, you're not a student until you're on property coming to the school. A little bit of difference there. But there is some regulations regarding that as far, especially leaving school. And again, I hate doing what-if questions, but that is kind of what we are at this point. I just think you're opening Pandora's box too. When you open that subdivision, people are gonna find out about it and do that. I'm gonna drop my kindergartner off in the curve and say, see you later, Johnny, walk to school. And I just have a bad feeling about that. If we can't say 5th grade only can do it, you know, if we open it up, it's gonna be fair game. That's my concern. I mean, I think one parent tonight said they had 2 kindergartners coming up. I hope they're great parents. I have no doubt they would walk their kid.
Right.
There probably some parents are gonna be rushed for time. Man, I gotta get to work, I'm late. Gonna zip through there and drop the kid off. And then now what? They get out of the car and half hour later we're looking for them. And that's a true concern of mine.
Right, and so I guess that's where I'm going. We have to have a procedure or something. So like the other schools, not to compare them all, but the other schools that do have the openings, what is their procedure? Do you know of, does the parent have to physically walk?
Again, I don't think we can regulate that until they get to our property. I think we're stuck. And once they step foot on the side of the fence, then we can say, yes, okay, your parent has to, we hope they walk you to the fence. Once they're to the fence, they gotta walk you all the way up to the front. We could probably say that has to happen, but I'm not sure all the children live in that subdivision, but if some are up by the main highway, that's a decent walk. I wouldn't want my elementary school kid walk up to
Right.
the front. Now, if they lived in the house, back up to the fence, like right where the hole was gonna be, again, I'm not an unreasonable person.
Right.
But that is a little bit difference to me compared to going back up. Also, just to mention the one sidewalk they said was possible viable. One thing we keep talking about is making it accessible to all our students. That would also, you have students that live across the street that could use that sidewalk. And to the left, again, I'm on a directional south. I'm not from Versailles, so what the neighborhood towards the Bluegrass Parkway. If we ever wanted to extend that sidewalk down, they could use the front sidewalk coming down the school as well. If we're talking about making access for all of our students possible. But
That
is-
was gonna be my question. So option 1 would be accessible for anybody.
That was one reason that why that was
Yeah,
considered,
and
because you
option
have.
2 is just for those legends.
Correct.
The legends neighborhood, with the hope that we don't clog them up with other people dropping kids off.
And I can just, and I've said it before, people are gonna, when they see other cars do it and learn about it, they're gonna do it. Is
Yeah.
that gonna increase traffic and create a problem? Again, it's a what if, a maybe. I have to consider that in some points though, because again, is that a traffic for a problem? Now we got 2 intersections we're trying to control. One, I've been over at Southside for morning arrivals. Simmons didn't need it better. Our schools are just, we don't have good access points really for any of our schools, to be honest with you. But we just kind of take it with, if we use the buses, I will say that would help eliminate some of that. I know some bus rides are longer than others, but again, that's part of where you live. In Simmons, if you go to Martin Luther King, you're off your bus in 30 seconds. I can't compare that to a kid who lives on McCracken Pike. So, well, we need to make something shorter because they live a half hour from the school. We just can't do that. We do provide transportation for every student if they need it. That's our biggest thing. Is it going to be the same ride and same amount of time for every student? No. But again, this goes back to what we can do. I would love to have a pedestrian crosswalk. Kids that walk to Simmons cross Tyrone Pike. I only have 3 or 4 that walk on occasion, but for me, I would like to have like a pedestrian. So if they have to cross, I try to go out there with them if I see them coming. It's not always possible. So they're out there in the morning, pitch black dark, crossing a major highway. If we want to try to make something accessible and safe for every single student, then that would be the next project I'd want. Just because Simmons is my school. No favors there, but that is my home school, so I do look at it that way. That would be great for my students to have. Is that feasible? Probably not at this time. And that's just the way I have to look at it.
So with the second option, hold on, I'm sorry. The fence that we're talking about on the south side is just, it would butt up to the Legends fence, right? The existing fence. We're not talking about creating a sidewalk and then putting a fence on the other side of the sidewalk between the sidewalk and south side.
It would be crazy if a sidewalk runs directly along the fence. I mean, the fences would just be parallel. We won't be using the existing, it's like a cattle farm
Yes.
fence.
Yeah.
That's what the current, we've walked through there. We'd need to clean it out some if we did do it, to do some landscaping to see, because we don't know if it's even intact all the way down through there. That's one reason why we looked at possible, go ahead and do another chain link fence, because then if they get to a point where there is an opening, it'll wander off in the woods somewhere. So that's why I talked about doing a two-sided fence, just to go ahead and address that issue, because we wouldn't know until we got in there what we might run into.
But would the one-sided fence be a guideline for the kids?
It
that
would,
they
but
couldn't, like, they wouldn't have the opportunity to go left.
They
wouldn't
couldn't
have
go
to
left. That would keep them out of like the delivery circle we're talking about, the dark area.
Yep.
There's some sheds back there, Central School Safety was concerned about. Again, it's a minor addition, but if it was an option, they would want something around those buildings to kind of block it off. People can't hide in there, some additional lighting. But you also have like the food delivery service comes early in the morning. And this comes from Officer Shryock, who's over there, because they're you're talking multi-ton trucks that back in there to do the dumpsters. The milk guys there in the morning. Again, that's what that left side fence would kind of prevent. The unknown is the Legend side fence until we go in there and do, if we were to go forward to do landscaping. Oh my gosh, we're missing a 50-foot section. So I think that's one reason why we went ahead and let's look at another option of just go ahead and what would it cost to put a chain link fence on both sides to kind of go ahead and get ahead of that problem before it got there.
Oh, I'm so glad you said, so it would be a fence that you could see through?
It'd be a chain link
Okay.
fence.
I just wondered, because I had like visions of like,
No,
wouldn't it be
no.
completely unsafe
No.
to be in this giant 6-foot wooden?
Yeah, I wouldn't want a
tunnel?
privacy fence. At a homeowner, I would be, but for that would be chain link. I'm assuming probably 4 or 6, standard 4 or 6 foot. Again, we hadn't got that far, but that would be recommended. Again, the other one's like old farm, square bill type fence. I'm not a farmer, so forgive me on that one, but it's just, and again, it's very highly covered and brush, and so I don't have any idea what's underneath that.
Well, 2A seems like a pretty good compromise, and it's less expensive than 2B. So are we in a position tonight where we could make a motion?
I think so. I think we were asked to give you some options, and I think we've worked with the Kentucky Council for Safe Schools, and we've got quotes for that work. So I think we're ready. You guys want to make a motion? Dawn, is that feasible, that they could make a motion tonight and move forward with something? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It would be a motion to accept or approve one of those
One of the
three
options.
options, and just specify when you make the motion which option you're moving to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to accept option 2A.
Second.
Okay, that was a motion by Ms. McCowan and a second by Ms. Springate. Let's go around one by one, please, with discussion. Ms. McCowan, I'll start with you.
I think I've already asked all the questions that I had and had my discussion, so I think I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Glass? Okay, my only discussion point would be that this is an option that only benefits the children in the Legends area, and we're talking about $40,000 for the benefit of the kids in the Legends area. We do have an option that is less money that can be accessed by any child that would be walking to school. And for me, that would be the option that I would be in favor of voting for at this point. It's cheaper, not that that's even a consideration really, when we're talking about safety, but when we're talking about a per student cost here and the benefit, I think that our money would be much better spent on creating something for all the kids that could be walking to school and not just one location. I do believe that there is a need for it, and I understand where the families are coming from, but for me, I believe that option 1 would be better. It's just my opinion. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Booker.
I've gone back and forth on that with the first one and the 2A for a lot of the same reasons. Just because, to have something that connects all the way to Troy down to the school could be beneficial, but I also know that there wouldn't be a fence with that option, and it would just be a sidewalk right next to everybody driving up and down. Now, while traffic in the mornings right there isn't as fast because everybody's backed up, and I'm in that traffic every morning too, and I know, and when they have events, because I thought about this, well, when Southside has events, a lot of people park on the side. So that would take away some parking. It would provide a safer walkway for some of that. So all that to say, I've gone back and forth on this a lot, but I do know the original intent was to open up access for that neighborhood. So, you know, I don't know that we need the double fencing, but it does seem like it, you know, we've gone back and forth on this, try to find a lot of compromises. In the spirit of the compromise and the original intent, I think that two-way makes the most sense in this situation, even though I do like the idea of having a sidewalk down the main strip, but I don't, maybe that's a down the road thing, but for this purpose and this compromise, I think two-way makes the most sense.
Yeah, and I would say, I think option one is something that is needed and would be beneficial to our community and our schools. I think option one is more something, though, that we might be able to get some grant funding or some help from the city, because that's, you know, right out there on the main road. So I feel like that might be an option where we could really get some additional assistance and funding and have some partnerships.
Okay. Having gone through discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I am a nay on that, so the motion passes 4-1. Whoops. That's okay. That's all right. Everything okay? Oh. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, the motion passed 4-1. Okay, moving on. Next we have, can I have a motion to approve the first reading of policy update number 47 and procedure update number 28?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Brickler,
Second.
a second by Ms. Glass. Is there any discussion on this one?
Those are all legal, just aligning from KSBA with
Yep.
what happened in.
There's a lot of them in there, and it's all strictly adopting the KSBA wording and their changes, so there's nothing additional in there.
Perfect. That was my question.
All right, any other questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve returning to the traditional school meal program for the 24-25 school year?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. McCowan,
Second.
second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion on this?
So this is discontinuing the current
Correct.
program. So I did want to bring it up because, I mean, it is something that we found out about, promoted. It was for 4 years, right? The original, it was going to be for 4 years.
I think it was just for the 1 year, wasn't it?
We had the option for 4.
Okay. So we had the option for 4, but we are now talking about discontinuing it after 1, right? Okay, just want to get clarity on that.
And it may be important too, just to talk about the reason that the recommended, Mr. Smith's here
Yeah.
to talk about that. Sorry.
No problem. So Ms. Squire had to step out to go get her child, so I'll step in her place and fill in as best I can. But yeah, we really wanted to do this program and make it work because it was going to be very beneficial for all the students of Woodford County to get the free meal program. Just unfortunately, with the way the reimbursement structure is made from the federal government on these meals, it's put a financial hardship onto the food service fund to some degree, and so we're going to have to revert back to the structure that we were doing prior to this past year with the fee structure, and then still be folks that qualify for free and reduced lunch. Obviously, it just won't be across the board with the district.
Can you elaborate on what changed? Because I know when we found out about it, everybody, and I remember we thought it was going to last for 4 years. Can you talk a little bit about how the reimbursements changed so that now we can't continue to participate in it?
Yeah, Courtney would definitely be better to speak. She understands the reimbursement structure much better than I do. I just make sure it gets in and goes to the place that it needs to go to. But from my understanding, the reimbursements that we got first of all, participation didn't maybe get to where we thought that we thought it was going to get with the free program. And then the amount that was reimbursed per meal. And I think there's some income.
It's based on, Shane, if I'm not mistaken, the percentage and how close we got to getting into the program. We barely got into the program, and that's a decreased rate of reimbursement. So we had a lower participation and a lower reimbursement than we really foreseen to have, or foresaw to have.
And throughout this year, I
It
think
has
I read that
depleted.
it
It's depleted
decreased
our-
even more, right?
Yeah.
So we got
Yeah.
even less reimbursement than we thought we were going to get. Okay.
And we just assumed that kids would flock to free meals, and kids don't eat a lot at school anymore, seem to be. So some do, some don't. So it's,
Okay.
Yeah, and we've tried to be very creative throughout the year to increase that participation with lunch carts being at the doors as they come in. I mean, we've been working on this for a long time during this year, and we just couldn't get it where it was going to be sustainable, so.
Ms. Squire had gone through several things. Like I said, we discussed breakfast in the classrooms in the mornings. That way, all the kids had them, and we could never find that fix that really had it take off. I think it's just bad.
I'm worried about, I mean, for me, I think it was great that we were able to do it for a year. I think that's wonderful, and we gave it a shot, and we identified that we weren't going to be able to continue it in time. So I think for me, I think that's still a win for us. So I appreciate the effort in that area. Any other questions or comments on this one? All those in favor of returning to the traditional school meal program?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
So the motion passes 4-1. Item F, actually it's G. Can I have a motion to approve job descriptions?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass. I'll second it. Any discussion?
I would, I did a little bit of research in looking at this logistics coordinator job description and then the existing transportation director job description, because I just wanted to see how they were different and what similarities there are. And there are similarities in the existing transportation director's job description and what this logistics coordinator is being tasked to do with all of the creating and updating and maintaining routes and stops and turnarounds, coordinating trip planning, driver assignments, managing billing, coordinating and assigning drivers for special events, new hire paperwork, interviews, and recommendations to the transportation director. To me, that sounds like a lot of the transportation director's job, and so I just wanted to point that out.
The job was approved last month. Dr. Rayburn, do you
Would you
want
like
to
to-
address that, or is? I think a lot of times in job descriptions, you could have similarities, like in my field, an accountant versus an accounting manager, they're gonna have some similarities in it. I don't know if that's the same, but.
That's what I get for poking my head out to fix the screen, not to answer the questions. So the part of the discussion here is what is the difference between the director of transportation and the transportation logistics coordinator. The logistics coordinator handles the day-to-day, the director approves them and handles the director roles inside of the organization. So as far as the logistics go, you're thinking more about the routing, you're thinking more about the day-to-day inside making a route for a bus to go from point A to point B, to end up at school on time, to get kids home on time, all of that stuff. That's what the transportation logistics coordinator would do. The director would then approve it and make sure that the managing side of that would be consistent with that. The other thing is to note that this position was approved already. We just forgot to include the job description in the approval from the last board meeting as well. So this is the approval of the job description, not the approval of the position as a whole. So just, did that answer your question related to the difference?
It does. I think too that the transportation director job, when Kay Penn had it not that long ago, I mean, she did all of those things, and I don't know that
That's
enrollment
not
has
100%
changed.
true.
Well, but I think when you talk about the route assignment and creating the routes and the pickups and the turnarounds and the stops, plus hiring, it looks like this person is going to have a heavy administrative and kind of human resources component to their job. So to me, that I was not supportive of creating the position because I think it's an expense that we could save, because I think that in my mind that's what a transportation director does. So I just wanted to clarify why it is I feel the way I feel. It's not just no, it's looking at things and seeing how they're like and how they're different and what the cost is. I mean, because this would be an ongoing cost for us year to year. So
Well, and I would just add, I also voted no on that. I do think it's really important for us to take a step back and look at the layers of bureaucracy and positions that we've added at central office so that we can really get a good handle on the increased costs is there. And one
Okay,
good
but
reason
this
is just
discussion-
because.
But this discussion is not on the existence of the position. This discussion needs to be limited to the job description. So let's keep our discussion to the agenda item because the role has already been approved and it was approved last month. I realize that you both voted against it. It was still approved. The item on this agenda is the job description. So if there are questions or comments on the description,
Well,
let's
I
leave it
think,
to those.
yeah, I do think one important thing is to look at things holistically, so.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
nay.
The motion passes 3-2. The next one is, can I have a motion to approve the utility easement assurance?
So
I will-
moved.
Okay, motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the FY25 fidelity bond?
So moved.
That is a motion by Ms. McCowan and a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the correction to grade 28 salary table?
So moved.
That's a motion by Ms. McCowan, a second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Our next item, can I have a motion to approve the Woodford County High School furniture contract with KDA? I will make a motion for that. Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion by me, a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry I was so slow. I was just gonna ask a quick question. Is the cost of this all has already been reflected in the BG1 and it's already taken care of? There's no additional, it wasn't over what we expected?
Yeah, if you get a chance to look at the BG one, there's furniture.
pulled out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
I just wanted to make sure and also to let the public know.
I do need, the quote is about $50,000 over what's on the BG1 line item, so.
Oh, okay.
We're slightly over that amount, so.
And where would that come from, the contingency?
The contingency, yeah.
Okay. Is it something you can update and reflect? I know it's different than what we get from Trace Creek, but just so that we can have an idea of like the exact remainder of the contingency.
yeah, he updates that every month.
Right, but I didn't know if he was gonna update this furniture
He
overage.
will. As we
So
pull
I
it, he'll
think
have to, yeah.
At some point in the next couple of months, I probably need to start giving you the contingency as it's outlined through our budget, because what Clay gives is strictly construction contingency. He doesn't know any of the things that go into the rest of the cost of the high school. And so now that we're getting closer to the end of the construction and some of the interior furnishings and equipment's going to be going into the high school, those numbers are gonna start differing a little bit from where he's at. So I'd be glad at some point in the next couple of months to start giving a financial recap of the project from an overall perspective that will have the true dollars in it. from our perspective, which is the most important. So,
Yeah, that would be great. I think that would be very helpful because in my mind, I wasn't thinking there was a difference. But now that you've explained it, that makes good sense. And I think it's important that we keep a handle on exactly what's left in that contingency. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. And then that brings us to, I need a motion to approve the UK contract for student teachers. This is the item that we pulled out of the consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass,
Second?
a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion on this one?
I'm just recusing myself from this one.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Do we reflect that? I always forget. 4-0?
That's right, you reflected
Okay.
as 4-0.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our regular agenda.
And we gotta do insurance.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't make my note clear enough. Okay, last item, promise. We need, is Mr. Livingston here?
He
There
is.
you are, okay. Can I have a motion to approve the FY25 insurance renewal for property and casualty, workers' compensation, and cyber insurance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Brickler and a second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion on this?
I just had a question about our, was it the deductibles for the wind? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the note I had. Yes.
So just about every I must have hit it with my paperwork.
Oh, yes, I was just wondering what the deductibles had been the previous years for
Previously,
wind
there
and
had
water.
been zero well, the previous, not a zero deductible. It was the same as the regular property deductible. So previously, it had been a $10,000 deductible. I'm sorry, $5,000 deductible on property. Going into this year, due to all the windstorm damage which Woodford County experienced in March of last year as well, Kentucky seems to have become part of Tornado Alley. And we're already looking ahead at the hurricane season, hoping that we don't have anything, a low pressure system, come up through the Gulf and into Kentucky. But almost all of the commercial property carriers, whether you're a school district, whether you're anything else, they have really hammered property this year. And the wind hail deductibles, they have increased mainly around $100,000. If you go into Western Kentucky, some of the districts there are getting anywhere from a 1 to a 5% deductible. So if you can imagine, how much is your new high school?
75, 73.
Okay, so you can imagine if you're over in Western Kentucky right now, many of them are looking at a 1% deductible, which would, $750,000 deductible. So it's not been good for property carriers at all, not just in Kentucky, but overall in the world. In the last 5 years, 6 years, claims have almost tripled and are up, averaging about $115 billion a year. Back in 2012 to 17, they were only $48 billion a year globally. So, every insurance company buys reinsurance, and so that's where we're seeing all that come in. So, this is the first time in my career in 25 years that I've seen premiums grow at the rate that they have, and also the terms and conditions, the deductibles, also get worse. So if you're looking at your homeowners, look at it close, because not only are you getting a rate increase, you're probably getting higher deductibles as well on your roof. Did that?
It does, I was
Okay.
just, yes, I'm
All right,
sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Livingston, for coming in.
Thank you for being patient, because I had another
Oh, no
board
problem.
meeting tonight, and then tomorrow night I got to go from Montgomery to Morgan County, so
No problem.
it's on the road this week.
So that brings us to the end of our regular agenda for tonight. I think the last item that we wanted to address, it's not on the agenda, but we wanted to say one final thank you to Ms. Cooper. from the board. I know we recognized you last month at the retirement meeting, but we just wanted one more time to say thank you and goodbye and good luck, and we hope that it's see you later, not a goodbye. But I understand Florida is calling. And yes, but we have appreciated all the work that you have done over the many years that you've supported multiple boards in every way possible. And your role is the role that makes everything go smoothly, and probably a role that people don't see every day. You know, you're the man behind the curtain, the woman behind the curtain, and we appreciate you. And of course, Woodford County loves you. And we do have a little parting gift that Mrs. McCowan is bringing over for you. If you want to get up and come over, you have to get up on camera and see. Yes, no. We want to see the woman behind the curtain.
Angel, thank you. This is made by one of our former Woodford County high school students who has his own business now, and we just thought it's made out of tobacco sticks, so we'll remind you of protect you.
Thank you, Angel. Okay. Yes, Mr. Atkins.
Real quick before we move forward, in that policy, in the policy, there is a box we have to check whether or not we want to make medical cannabis, approve that to be used on our campuses, on our school campuses. We're not going to ask you to make that decision tonight. We can make that decision when we have our second reading. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to the real end of the regular agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Brickler.
Second.
Second by Ms. Glass. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Do not go anywhere. We have one more quick meeting of our Finance Corporation. So I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Woodford County Public School Finance Corporation on June 17th, 2024 at Woodford County High School. We have one item on this agenda, and that is to approve the School District Finance Corporation minutes from the May 13th, 2024 meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
a second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, everybody.